Hello everyone and welcome to another Directions Mag Geospatial webinar, today sponsored by our friends at SmartyStreets. We appreciate you stopping by directionsmag.com for more webinars, podcasts, news, and articles. A warm welcome to our friends from SmartyStreets. Welcome back to Wes Arnold and Jeffrey Duncan. They are here to help us improve our geocoding game. Gentlemen, welcome. We are glad to have you with us today and excited to learn more.
Thanks, Barbary. I appreciate the introduction. We're excited to be here presenting this webinar in conjunction with Directions Magazine. So we're actually going to kind of keep this webinar in a short format. We've actually received a lot of feedback saying that people really like the short format. So we're going to try to cram a lot in this next half hour. So we'll jump right in with the agenda. First, we'll talk about who is SmartyStreets. We'll just do a brief overview to give you an idea of where we come from and what we cover. And then we're going to jump right into talking about the things that might affect your geocoding and how we can help you improve that with integrated address validation. So first, we'll talk about false positives and how those affect the results you get from your geocoding, as well as enhanced matching. That's a term we use internally, so we're going to talk about that as far as what does it mean, what is enhanced matching, and what does it accomplish. As part of that enhanced matching, we also offer non-postal addresses as part of that utility. And we'll cover exactly what is a non-postal address, how is it important, how are they important to the results you're getting in geocoding, and how can they improve by using address validation coupled with geocoding. And then, of course, we'll review the benefits of what we've talked about. At the end, we'll have a Q&A, and Jeffrey Duncan, who is our go-to guy for all technical questions, is going to be on hand to help answer your specific questions. So, all right, let's talk about SmartyStreets. We've been a leader in the location data intelligence industry since 2011, and we offer a wide variety of location data intelligence products. So today we're going to talk about two specifically. I mentioned address verification with enhanced matching. We'll talk about that today, and US rooftop geocoding. Now those two, when you purchase US rooftop geocoding, you get the address verification that comes with it. And so that's why we're presenting this webinar, to show you the benefits of having those two wrapped into one. We also offer US reverse geocoding. So if you give us the coordinates that you have on file, we can give you the address that goes with those coordinates. Also, US Address Autocomplete Pro is a utility that helps end users when they're entering the address before it gets into your database. It suggests valid addresses so that it keeps out bad addresses from your database. Also, international address validation, and we also offer, coming up, we'll offer international address autocomplete. That's coming soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Here's just a few things that people really like about SmartyStreets. Number one is easy to follow documentation and customer loving support. We just received an email from a customer a couple days ago who went to great lengths to write a few paragraphs about what he loved about SmartyStreets. And one of the first things he mentioned was the easy to follow documentation. He said that was actually one of the main decisions or the main points in making a decision to buy SmartyStreets was how easy it was to follow our documentation. And then he also mentioned the customer loving support. And I put in there accessible, because when you call SmartyStreets support, I remember when I joined the company about 1.5 years ago, I asked Jeffrey, who was in charge of support at the time, what's the queue like? And he had to think for a second, and he thought, we've had a queue before. And so the point being that it's very unusual for us to have a queue. And when you call, you get in touch with somebody. When you chat, you get in touch with somebody. There's no tiers, so you're not going to get somebody who's trying to steer you down a script and then have to wait for somebody to, from a second tier to answer you a little bit later. You'll just get somebody who's knowledgeable, and you'll talk to them right away. Also, we're the home of unlimited lookups. So this is a big deal for a lot of people, where when you're signing up for geocoding, it's sometimes difficult to know exactly how many addresses you're going to run. And so being able to choose an unlimited plan is kind of nice. You can just pick an unlimited plan, and then you don't have to worry about going over. There's no overage charges and things. There's no small print. It's just you buy an unlimited plan, and then you don't have to worry about it from there. Also, our amazing uptimes. We pride ourselves on uptimes, so we publish them. So if you went to Google and you search SmartyStreets uptimes, you'll find the page where we publish our uptimes, and I think we've got 3 months or so of the past data, and you can even sign up for notifications on any alerts and things. But we're very proud of that because, to be honest, they're very good. So, all right, let's talk about address verification and how it improves geocoding. So, it seems to be a very well-known fact that what you get in. What you put into your geocoding is what you're going to get out. So the better the addresses that you put in, the better the geocoding results you're going to extract from that. So now, not validating your addresses can lead to a lot more false positives. And false positives, of course, lead to poor business decisions. So let's talk about false positives for a second. So sometimes we get questions of, what is a false positive? So here's an example that we use. This is an actual example of using Google Maps. No offense to Google, we love them. Everybody uses them, and we figured they can handle a little ribbing. But when we type in 2335 South US 89, it actually returned 2335 US 89 in Harrisville, Utah. Now, Harrisville is 90 miles away from Provo, Utah, where the address was originally what we had meant to get a return for. And so that's a big discrepancy. Now, the thing that's annoying about false positives is that unless you do them manually, you're not going to know that those came back with errant data. So that's what's difficult about them. And that's what's so frustrating about them, is that it returns some result, but you won't know if that's accurate or not. So the way SmartyStreets handles these is it just says it's an unknown address. If we can't figure it out, we let you know. And the reason why that's advantageous is that you'll have a file with correct addresses, and then you'll have unknown addresses. So you can take those that handful of unknown addresses, and you can sort through them manually or however you want to resolve them. But at least you know, and that's the thing that we pride ourselves on, is that we at least tell you that it's an unknown address. That way you have some way to resolve it. All right, we mentioned enhanced matching. So what is enhanced matching? So enhanced matching is a proprietary engine that deciphers messy addresses and makes them usable. And of course, the more usable addresses you have, the more usable address results you have, the more your addresses can be accurately geocoded. So again, whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. So this enhanced matching is part of our address validation tool, and it can decipher malformed, or we sometimes call them fat-fingered addresses. So like maybe somebody just hits the wrong numeral. When they're going for a 4, they hit a 5. And it can also resolve poorly merged data, reversed or incorrect street directions, missing data, repeating data, incorrect transcriptions, and scrambled data. So I'm actually going to show you a few of these examples. Now, keep in mind, as we're going through these examples, we're showing you these because the more you are able to resolve addresses as they come into your geocoding, the better results you're going to get from your geocoding. So here's a wrong address, right? We've got 3021 I-35 Unit 110. Notice right off the bat, Unit 110 is munched together, so it's going to be hard to decipher what that is. I-35, that means something to us as far as Interstate 35, but that might not mean the same to a machine. So here's what SmartyStreets actually does. So SmartyStreets adds the S on 3021, so it's proper, and then it adds the proper name for interstate. And then notice here that it recognized that unit isn't the correct term. It's actually a suite. So it puts in suite and replaces unit, and it makes it into the proper format. Also puts in proper casing and zip +4. Now here's another example. we've got repeating data here. So this sometimes happens perhaps when you're merging data and you didn't realize you've got two columns that are right next to each other. They're the same data. And so this one came out as 12510 overcup drive and 12510 overcup drive. So the way SmartyStreets resolves this is it recognizes that you've got a duplicate street name and street number in here, and it removes it. And of course, and it puts it in proper case. This one is one that I find fascinating. Oh, I did the reveal too soon. This is one that I find really fascinating. Notice it's 19205 6 Penny Monument, Colorado. There's all sorts of things wrong with this address. So SmartyStreets was able to, the address verification was actually able to notice that 6 Penny, even though they're two different, it's a numeral and a word, it was able to decipher that 6 Penny actually meant one word, 6 Penny, and it also deciphered it's 6 Penny Lane. And of course, it put it in the proper case and added zip +4. Now, why is this so crucial? This enhanced matching is very useful in increasing your percentage of validated addresses and thereby increasing the number of geocoding results you're going to get. So we had a file of, I think it was 2 million, 2 million garbage addresses. We knew that they had been kicked out as being unresolvable. And so we ran those 2 million addresses through this enhanced matching tool, and it came back with 500,000 new results that were verified. So that's a 25% lift. Now, of course, that's what you start with. We started with a garbage list, right? So you're not going to see a 25% list or improvement in your list, but you are going to see a list, an improvement probably between 3 to 10% is what we're estimating. So imagine 3 to 10% of your geocodes being improved and being able to actually run those geocodes, because now you have an address that was properly deciphered. Okay, let's talk about non-postal addresses. And just to cover what those are, we do get questions every once in a while of what does that mean? So non-postal addresses are addresses that are not in the USPS database. And as part of our enhanced matching tool, we include 15+ million non-postal addresses. And that's crucial to better business intelligence because there are entire communities that are not in the USPS database. For example, Jackson, Wyoming is one of those places where the addresses, the home addresses there are not listed in the USPS database because they don't do home delivery there. So if you're relying solely on the USPS database, then you're missing out on a lot of addresses that can be accurately geocoded. So I'm going to give an example here. So Jackson Hole, I'm going to try this. I'm going to switch to Firefox here, and I'm going to go to our demo. So this is on our US Rooftop Geocoding product page. We're going to go to the demo, and I'm going to type in the address I had listed there, 6600 North, Snake River Ranch Road. And that is in Jackson, Wyoming, and I believe it was 83001. Whoops. Okay, we'll see the results over here on the right. So notice it validates the address, okay, and it also gives us the latitude and longitude. And the latitude and longitude that we get is a rooftop latitude and longitude. Now, what does that mean? And I'm gonna show another slide about this in just a second, but notice that here's the structure in question that I wanted to know about. And notice how close that structure is to the Snake River. The pin is directly on the structure, and that is crucial because let's say you're an insurance adjuster or an insurance underwriter, and you want to know exactly how close that structure is to the floodplain of the Snake River in case something happens and that house is in danger. You need to know that so you can create an accurate policy. So it is vital for you to know exactly where that building is in relation to the Snake River. So I'm going to go back to my slides. and I'll skip ahead. So notice that this one was spot on, right on top of the structure. Here's another service, and actually, I believe Google Maps returns the same result. This result is a parcel centroid result. So if you're trying to get accurate data as to where that structure is, there's the actual location, but the parcel centroid pin is misleading. So it's well off of the structure, and therefore, as an insurance adjuster or when you're trying to build a policy, you're not going to have the accurate data on hand. So here's another example. This is just down the road from us in Salem, Utah, and the lots there tend to be long and skinny. And so for a long time, it's been okay for the industry to say that a rooftop match is anywhere that's parcel centroid. We go a step further, and we want you to actually get rooftop results. So our product, US Rooftop Geocoding, will give you the actual rooftop result. So right on the structure instead of being parcel centric. And that is what we call, that's true rooftop geocoding. It's right on the structure. Now, what are the benefits of using integrated address verification with your geocoding? So here are the main benefits. Is you have one solution. Like I mentioned before, when you purchase US Rooftop Geocoding from SmartyStreets, you're actually getting the validation and the rooftop geocoding together. So you get that enhanced matching that we demonstrated earlier, where if you've got a list of potential garbage addresses, we help clean that up for you before it goes into the geocoding solution. Now, I shouldn't even say before it goes in, it's actually one and the same. So once you put in those addresses, you get validated results, and you also get those rooftop results. So it's simplifying your work, not doubling it. So rather than having to deal with two vendors and with two contracts or anything like that, simplify your work and don't double it. With US Rooftop Geocoding, you have one utility, you put the addresses in, you get the validation, plus you get the US Rooftop Geocoding results like we just demonstrated. Also, there's less handling. So what do I mean by less handling? Well, when you're trying to use two different utilities, you've got to import, export, save it, import and export it again. And the more you do that, the more chance there is for an error to happen, whether you grab the wrong file or maybe some columns get mixed in. Just the more we handle things, the more errors we're liable to introduce. So also high processing speeds. So with two different utilities, you've got to rely on two different things to run at two different speeds. With SmartyStreets, you're getting high processing speeds at the same time. Like I mentioned, once you put in those addresses, they're validated and they're geocoded at the same time. So they're done at the same time, they're processed at the same speed. There's no waiting for two different utilities. So with that, we'd like to offer you the chance to try it. We offer 1,000 US address with enhanced matching lookups. And now I mentioned before, that means with that demo, you'll actually get rooftop geocoding results. So you can enter in 1,000 addresses, see how it validates them, and also see what the results are of the geocoding. I realize that sometimes that's not enough for people to run a test that they feel comfortable with. So if that is the case, just get in touch with us. In fact, you can just contact me at wes@smartystreets.com. I'll forward it on to the correct person and they'll get you hooked up. So now with this free trial, you also get 5,000 autocomplete pro lookups. That might not be your thing, but just in case you want to take a look at it, it comes free with it. You don't have to do anything additional. And it also has 1,000 international address lookups. So you can either use the QR code down there in the top, the bottom left, or you can use that URL that we have listed, and it will take you to a form. You just fill that out, and we'll get you hooked up. So with that, we'd like to start our Q&A. Jeffrey, you're on hand?
I sure am, Bob. I mean, Wes.
Great. Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start with the question. So I'm sure we've probably got some in the queue.
Yeah, so let's start with how often the data is updated.
Awesome. So the U.S. address data is updated on a monthly basis. Actually, all of our data is updated on a monthly basis. We release new updates on the first of each month. So that's a rolling update. So on the first of each month, if you hit our service right at the beginning of the day and then hit it at the end of the day, there is a possibility that you might see an old version of the address and a new version of the address. That's because we have servers running all the time. We never bring them all down. So it's a rolling update, but the address data is updated on a monthly basis, as is the geocoding data.
Great. And if folks are wanting to see any extra resources and those kinds of things beyond the trial, where should they go?
Good. You can always contact, as Wes mentioned, you can contact him, but just as a general resource, if you contact support@smartystreets.com via email, or just call our support line with the phone numbers on the website in the contact us section. If you had a demo account that gave you 10,000 lookups and you need more, cool. Just tell us how many you need and for how long. Or if there's any of our services that you heard about and want to try out, the answer is yes. Just ask. So happy to help.
All right, so got a couple more questions here. Folks asking about, countries available. So is this tool only for the US? Is there expected coverage to other places?
We have two APIs. We have an API specific to the United States, and then we have a global API. So all of the countries in the world are included in our global API to different degrees of coverage. For example, Afghanistan only has street level information, meaning we would not be able to verify that house number 127 on a certain street is there, but we can verify that the street is there. Whereas in Japan and or Australia, we're able to verify an address all the way down to not just the premise or the building, but also the unit within that building, so the apartment number. So on our website, in the documentation, there's a list of the supported countries, and it shows the different precision levels that we have for each of those countries.
Perfect. I know that folks always have questions about that in particular. So how do you handle alternative addresses?
I'm going to answer that with my own meaning of alternative. I'm not quite sure what that question could be, but I'll try. For example, down the street from us, there is a road that 2 years ago, the road got renamed. It's a new street name. It used to be Bulldog Boulevard. It is now Cougar Lane. So our system understands that addresses, that street names change, and even house numbers get renumbered. There's a historical aspect to the addresses within our system. If you put in house number 127 on Cougar Lane, on Bulldog Boulevard, which it was 2 years ago, in Provo, Utah, our system will still match that up and say, okay, here's what you gave us. That's fine. Here's the preferred version of this. You could mail something to either of those, and they would get there. We return to you the standardized or the preferred version of that. I would call that an alternative address. If anyone has a more deep question on that, please reach out to us, support@smartystreets.com, or see if you can get it in here.
Perfect. Thanks very much. All right. So is it possible to validate using a list of multiple addresses?
It sure is. Our system handles, on the very deep level, it handles one address at a time, but it handles it really fast. Kind of like the sun is sending out one photon at a time, but a whole lot of those at one time. Or sorry, it's sending it so fast that it looks like we're getting a whole bunch. Maybe that was too obtuse. You can send us, we have clients that are doing billions of addresses per month. And in order to do that, they are processing upwards of 50,000 addresses per second. Yes, you can do multiple addresses at once using a list.
Excellent. So just a reminder to folks that we will be sending you a link to the free trial via email. There's also a recording coming as well. So let's look at another question here. What is the source of your structured data?
Awesome. So the guy that headed up that part of our team is not in the office right now. So I'm going to answer, because he would tell me, he would say, don't tell them where we get it. I'm going to answer as best I can. A lot of these structured data comes from a very obscure source. It's called the County Assessor's Office. Each county in the United States is responsible for making sure they are aware of any structures that are built on a property. A lot or a portion of our data, structured data, comes from that source. It's not always as accurate as it could be, so we have other sources that we use that I can't share to corroborate that. But it's a good place to start saying that it comes from the county assessor's office. Those are the guys the people that make sure that the taxes are levied when you build a house.
Absolutely.
For sure.
All right, thanks. Well, we are just about out of time. So thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate you being here with us today and sharing all your cool tools. I know folks will be excited to validate some addresses and get started with that free trial. Thanks again, Wes and Jeffrey. We appreciate you and hope that you all will join us for more geospatial webinars. Make it a great day. Tell a friend about Smarty Streets and Directions Magazine. Thanks, everybody.